Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will be giving my initial thoughts on the Arrma Gorgon. I was excited when Arrma released this truck just because I'm a big fan of simple, inexpensive RCs. I think they can be a ton of fun if they're built right and they're durable, which this is 100% on both cases. This thing handles amazingly well. It seems super durable so far. I haven't really been hitting any big ramps with it or anything yet, but so far I'm impressed with the build quality. This is the ready to assemble version. When they released this, I went ahead and did the pre-order for the blue one, I think it was. It was the one without the charger and battery. I figured, why waste money on that? I'm not gonna use that battery or charger. But of course that was the one that was back ordered, so I ended up waiting a while and then I canceled that order. Ordered the ready to assemble because I do like building a kit, and I also think that the black body and the whole blacked out chassis is one of the better looking versions to me. But yeah, so I built it. The build went really well. I gotta say, they did a great job with this kit. Most of it, the more difficult stuff does come pre-assembled, like the shocks are pre-assembled, the diffs are pre-assembled. Even like the hubs have the bearings pressed in with the axles already installed. So it goes together really quick, you know, take about 45 minutes to an hour. What do I want to say here? Wheels are turning. I really like the way they thought out the kit because I think a lot of Arrma fans, or what people expect from Arrma, isn't like a full builder's kit, and I think they might get in over their heads if they're not familiar with building up a complete RC from scratch. So I think it was pretty smart, especially at this price point. It's going to attract like first-time users, first-time builders. Maybe you want to build an RC with your kids. This is a great place to start because you kind of get the whole experience without a lot of the frustration of building diffs or shocks and dealing with fluids and a lot of teeny tiny little parts. So, and this saves you time. If you're going to buy this for your kid and you want to build it up on Christmas morning, you don't want it to take 3 hours, so 45 minutes to an hour is about right. I did run it stock with the original ESC and brushed motor, and honestly, better than I thought it would be. It will do wheelies with the brushed motor, at least on pavement if you get enough traction. And yeah, I've seen people say it does about 25. I believe that stock. So it's a lot of fun, but I knew right away I was going to do a brushless kit in this, so I did show you guys here what I've done so far. Body fits nice and tight. Let's go right off the bat here. I reinforced the body. I've seen a bunch of videos where the body's just kind of really split apart in the back. They kind of get crushed in. So what I did was, there's different methods. You guys can look it up. It's all over YouTube. My favorite method recently, just because it's fairly quick, is I'll do a thin layer of shoe goo or E6000 over the entire inside of the body. And the drywall mesh works great, but it's a pain in the neck to work with. So what I find is if I do a very thin layer of shoe goo, let it tack up just to the point where it's barely dry to the touch, and then I do a layer of Gorilla tape, Gorilla brand duct tape, the Extreme, I think Gorilla Extreme version. I don't know, whatever it is. You can get black, you can get white. And I do a layer of that on the inside, and that really bonds to the shoe goo and E6000 really well. So far, I mean, this is pretty scraped up. Hasn't taken any massive hits, but we'll see. I think it's gonna hold up well. So I gotta tidy up the wires here a little bit. So I have a Hobby Wing Max 10 SCT system in here. I've had this in a bunch of different vehicles and I really like it. It's one of my favorite TED scale systems. It is a 3200 kV motor and I am running it on, it goes really well on 2S, but I was running it on 3S. I did install this Rocket 40mm fan here, cool the motor off, works extremely well. I have a 14 tooth pinion. I believe stock was 15, if I remember right. So I decided to go with the 14, being that I'm running it on 3S, and it worked out great. I don't know what the max speed is. I haven't had my GPS on it yet. I don't really care that much. All I know is like it's perfect. Like this motor, the 3200 kV with the 14 tooth, it's about perfect for this. This thing will wheelie down the street like as far as you want it to. I did put the wheelie bar on the back. This is the wheelie bar off of the Big Rock. Fits directly onto the rear bumper here, the stock rear bumper. So super easy install. I think I got it on Amazon for like 14 bucks. Really helps a lot, because if you upgrade this, even stock, like I said, it does wheelies. If you upgrade this to brushless, I mean, it's just gonna flip over backwards like constantly. This thing with this system in it, even doing 20 miles an hour down the road, if you just roll on the throttle, it lifts the front wheels. So it's super powerful. The thing that impressed me the most is the way this truck handles. They really got the geometry dialed in, and it still has like the standard handling traits of a two-wheel drive, where you can't really turn on power. So if you're coming into a turn and you just stay on the power, it's gonna wanna push. Because it really wants to lift the front end a little bit, so you don't have much weight on the front end, and the wheels aren't, a four-wheel drive, they would be, you know, pulling. On this one, it's more just pushing the front end, so you really have to just let off the throttle. But when you do that, it really carves a nice turn, especially if you tap the brake a little bit, because that's just going to break the rear wheel. You can really drift this thing around like instantly. And I think the tread pattern, this like chevron pattern, monster truck style tire, really helps, and it suits this vehicle really well. I have a Stampede two-wheel drive, the Bigfoot version, that has similar tires. In fact, they don't have foams either. It's a very similar vehicle, and I love driving that thing for the same reason, just because you can drift it around. It really doesn't want a traction roll. It gets great forward acceleration and great turning grip, but not so much that it wants to traction roll all the time. You know, and again, I think it's this pattern here that works just really great for most terrain. It does get bogged down a little bit in like some taller grass, but I've run this on pavement, on like baseball field, clay, like mulch area, dirt, just ripping it through the woods over leaves and little, you know, pebbles and rocks and stuff. And it hooks up great just about everywhere. Of course, you're gonna get a lot more wheel spin with two-wheel drive and 3S power, but very controllable. That's my overall thought on this, is it is super controllable, super easy to use. One other thing I'll mention, part of that is due to the stability control I have on here. I'm running a FlySky GT5 radio, and the receiver here, this FS BS6 6-channel receiver, does have a built-in gyro, and you can really fine-tune all of the functions on this gyro. So you can really go in and tell it exactly how much assistance you want with the steering. And I just find for a two-wheel drive vehicle, it just makes it more fun, you know? I mean, you dial in just the right amount of gyro action where it's gonna correct your steering a little bit, and it's just a much more fun experience. So that helped a lot. And but even without that, this truck really is super easy to drive, right? It doesn't want to roll over. You can kind of stay on the throttle, and it wheelies out of the turns, and it'll power slide, and it kind of drifts a little bit. It turns great. I don't know, it's so much fun. You really, I'm gonna include some running footage. I didn't really go out with the intention of filming this. I was like, let me just get out and get like a first solid drive with it, with the brushless system. But I had so much fun, and I was like amazed at how well this thing was handling that. I took some short video, and I'll you know, get that up in a second so you guys can see. But yeah, I mean, it held up great. I mean, you know, this thing took some pretty hard tumbles at high speed, and you know, I ran it in the woods with the stock motor, and yeah, it got scraped up on the bottom. I hit a bunch of rocks and roots and stuff, and it's been completely fine. There is zero issue with this. Nothing's come loose. I mean, I know I built it myself, but you know, everything is good. And like the suspension, I think if you're gonna be doing a lot of jumping, which I plan on taking out my big ramp and sending this thing in the very near future. So I'll see, but I know the suspension, it definitely seems really like a light oil in here. I put the preload spacers on the shocks just to kind of get it to, you know, with the battery I'm running, I was running a 6200 3S. It does kind of weigh a good amount, so it was kind of sitting, you know, about a third into the travel, which is where you want it. So if you get the ready to run, I don't know what preload spacers come set up on it. I added one on the rear, and I think I added 2 on the front, and it really seemed to be kind of balanced. But it does really blow through the suspension pretty easily, so it might be something worth looking into, but I don't know. It handles so great as it is. I almost don't want to mess with it. So yeah, that's my initial thoughts on this, guys. It is an amazingly fun RC, especially, like, even if it costs more, I'd say it's an amazingly fun RC. But the fact that you can get this, you know, the ready to run one without the battery for, I think, 150 bucks. And then if you throw in, I mean, you can pick up a fairly cheap brushless setup off of Amazon to get like a 3200 kV. Yeah, I don't know, 60 bucks. Or if you want to get the hobby wing, it's probably like 100, 110, and it's an awesome system. And then you're going to also need a receiver. If you have something lying around, you can use it. If you're going to buy something new, I highly recommend the FlySky GT5 controller. It's going to come with this receiver with the gyro. It's 6 channels. You can plug in other stuff if you want. If you want to have remote access to turn lights on and off or things like that, you can do that. And then you can pair that controller up to 20 other different RCs and just use the same controller for all of them. And you could just pick up extra receivers for like 20, 25 bucks a piece and just go that route. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this thing, guys. I cannot wait to drive this more. It actually annoys me that this thing is so good for like 150 bucks, where, you know, I have other RCs that cost way more money, and yeah, they're great in a lot of ways, but they could be a giant pain in the ass. You know, the UDR, for example, awesome RC, huge pain in the ass to work on, very expensive. It breaks pretty often, and it's not something I would just take anywhere to use it. You know, I wouldn't really bash too hard with that thing. You've probably seen me drive it in other videos if you're familiar with the channel. And I tend to do a little more like scale stuff with that and try to find something that suits that truck. This, you can just have a blast with this anywhere. This is an RC that I will always just take with me, no matter what I'm going to do. If I'm taking crawlers out, if I'm going wherever, I would take this as a backup every single time. Just throw it in the truck, throw a couple batteries in there, 2S, 3S, whatever, and just have it in case your other RC breaks, or you just want to take a break from whatever you're doing and do something a little different. You could have a blast with this thing in a parking lot, bring a little ramp, or just find something fun to play around on. It really takes me back to kind of like the old days when I was a teenager getting into RCs, and just a fun, fast RC car that does wheelies and jumps and flips and doesn't break and doesn't cost a lot to repair and is super easy to repair. It's just a great all-around RC. It's really like the essence of what RC should be. Is just a fun 2-wheel drive monster truck. It is probably the best example of, if you just want, if someone is like, hey, why are you into RC cars? I've never tried one. You think you have one, you let me drive? I would give them this one every single day of the week and just be like, take this and do what you want with it. If you have kids who want to get into it, if you're bringing kids with you and you want to give them a truck to play around with that you don't think they're going to destroy, pick up one of these. Yeah, I mean, super awesome truck, guys. I don't want to take up too much time. I have some short running video here. I will definitely be posting more video when I get this thing out with a ramp. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you like the content and you want to see more. Give me a thumbs up, a like, leave a comment if you have any questions on the setup or whatever, or you want to see anything in particular, just let me know. Later. Okay, guys, so I just wanted to show you the battery I was running in this. Highly recommend these batteries, by the way. CNHLs, they're pretty good price, especially you can find these on sale quite often on their website or even on Amazon. I got a good deal on these off Amazon, so I bought a bunch of them. This is the 3S 6200 100C discharge. So it's a really good high output battery. Came with the EC5, which is what I run on everything. So depending on, you know, what connectors, what flavor connectors you guys love to use, you can find something with that connector on it. This thing fits pretty much perfectly in the battery tray. I'll just show you here what the limitations are with this battery tray. So basically, when this comes out, you need to find something that is going to fit in between these spacer, kind of the little lip on the edge there. And you can see this thing fits about as tight as it can get. If it's any tighter, it's almost a little difficult to close the door. If it's any bigger, I don't think I would go with anything that fits super tight in there, because you do have to kind of hinge this up and in, and then this sits, and even to close it, you have to almost like shift the battery one direction or the other to kind of get a little wiggle room in there. But this thing fits amazingly well. And one other thing I will say about this, so I ran this is the 6200, and this is a brand new battery. It was the first time I used it in this rig. I was running this in the park over mulch, doing wheelies back and forth. I mean, I was probably 75% to 100% throttle almost the whole time I was running this thing. And I got about half an hour of runtime on this battery. And then I brought an older 5200 Sokokin battery, cheaper battery. I think those are like 20 something bucks. And that lasted almost as long. That lasted probably a solid 25 minutes. So I was playing around with this thing in the park for like a solid hour, and I went through 2 batteries. I mean, that's amazing. And you know, it just goes to show, like, 2-wheel drive just uses a lot less power, and something this light is going to use a lot less power too. So that's the other great thing with this truck, is you don't need to spend a ton of money on batteries, and you can have a lot of fun. Just charge up 2 batteries and you're going to be amazed by how long this runs, you know. So just wanted to show that to you guys, and yep, that's it. Stay tuned.